Welcome back. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge two YouTube presenters with YouTube channels that have really helped me. They don't know they've helped me because I've been watching them and I haven't realised it. But they really helped me gain deeper insights into this whole area of narcissism and the impact narcissists, malignant narcissists and psychopaths have in our lives. The first is Richard Grannon. Richard is a very knowledgeable and very amusing Englishman who is also known as the Spartan life coach, and I think gives hugely valuable information in a very accessible way. Again, he is talking from experience. So subscribe not only to me, and please subscribe to me and contribute, please, as well as to Richard, and also to Sam Vaknin, V-A-K-N-I-N. Sam is someone who admits to being a narcissist, an extreme narcissist, and whose life has shown the scars of this condition, this personality disorder. He has been divorced and bankrupted and in prison for fraud and you name it, but he's come out the other side seeking a deeper understanding and why this has happened to him. He is a physicist, I believe German, and has a great command of the English language. Is very logical, and I believe, to me, is the most pertinent expert in this field, because he can explain it from the inside out. What Sam has said recently, and this has struck a chord with me, is that the whole realm, the whole gamut of psychiatric and psychological conditions, and we know they're so linked to our physical ailments as well. We've seen a great explosion of these conditions, or classification of these conditions, in the last 30 years. So that the manual, the DSM manual, which is supposed to explain them in a very, I suppose, dry way, has exploded into thousands of these conditions. Being a physicist, he was searching for a unifying factor that somehow brings these together. Now we know that life is incredibly complex, and I've talked before how we are a sum not only of our parts, we're greater than a sum of our parts, but we're all contributed to by our upbringing. We have, it's not only that, but we carry the genetics of previous generations and the epigenetics of previous generations, the impact of joy and trauma on them as well. And in many ways, everything we encounter in our lives feeds into our system and makes us the people we are. So I'm not trying to oversimplify this, but I am trying to bring it together into a more unifying picture. So all those conditions that we're seeing, let's say the ADHD and the bipolar conditions, the schizoaffective conditions, the anxiety disorders, the depression and anxiety and ADHD, all these things may well have in some ways a common connection to this spectrum of conditions and how we're exposed to them, particularly in early life. For instance, if somebody is born to a very narcissistic person, it certainly will impact on their lives, and if they're conditioned into being like that, then if they are going to, in fact, blend their being with how they achieve in life, they will have to probably try and break this shell, the shell that the narcissist has felt he hasn't had to break, because this is the shell, the facade that he presents, I say he, can be she, to the world. And it has become, in their eyes anyway, in the narcissist's eyes, very successful. But most of us know that there's a more bluff and bluster in that than truth. That in fact within most of us there's a softer centre, a softer truth. And this truth is exposed when we're more relaxed, when our outer shell isn't so thick, when we crack up with laughter, basically. When we are surrounded by people who love us, when we are in a natural environment where we feel safe, when we are indulging in creative pursuits, when time doesn't seem to matter because we're stepping outside time. All these are concepts which the malignant narcissist, psychopath, sociopath, antisocial personality person will struggle with. May not have actually have a proper formation in their mind or being of such things, such realities. So if we're brought up in the presence, the dominant presence of that person, it can be particularly damaging. For instance, we could be expected to succeed in that world, of all winning at all costs, of being insensitive, to be able to sleep at night, to be two-faced, to feel that we're important. That may be the driving force. Or else that if that narcissistic dominant person in our lives when we're a child is overwhelming and perceives that we are not like that, then we may be forced into the other corner and be criticised for being a soft loser, okay, for once and for all. And both of these, of course, are dangerous areas. In fact, we go through life trying to blend our soul with our personality. That's the idea of yoga, the yolk of the egg, if you like, is allowed to express itself, and that protective ego that we have can be allowed at times to be shed, but also be brought back into action to protect ourselves when we are being attacked. All right. So many of those conditions that we see now in these very thick textbooks may well have a common formation, at least in our childhood. Of course, it's not quite as simple as that, but it may be a clarification that will ring true in future years. So please, people, think about that. But think about it in a positive way, because if we have gone through those difficult times as a child, we have the capabilities with a supportive community to heal from that. The healing will involve a certain amount of sadness. There'll be as many tears as well as there will be joy. There'll be an extreme feeling of vulnerability. There will be a relinquishing of our need to rely on addictive substances. But there will be a peace and joy that will last throughout our lives and impact on other people. And this is sort of why I'm doing this. So again, subscribe, contribute, and bless you all. Thank you. See you next time. Cheerio.